You are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia. Wole, Mo, and Glen are your hosts. Ray G's out. We also have ABC TV Channel 4 in West Virginia and Sports Journeys Washington Commanders reporter Lake Lewis Jr. on the line. Well, not on the line. I used to say on the line, but out here on the show. What's going on, Lake?
What's going on, fellas? How are you doing?
We're doing good, man. It's good to see you again, man. It's been a long time, man. It's good to see you again.
Of course, it's always good to see the family for sure.
You know it. We got Glen. Glen is now like part of the squad. You know what I'm saying? So you can, for me, it's on your right. So you got to turn right. Say what's up, hi, Glen. You got to say hi.
Hey, what's up, Glen?
What's up, Blake? How you doing? I appreciate it when you guys invite me in to be the family, man. I appreciate you guys.
No problem, man. No problem. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on IG at Urban Sports Scene and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to Fox Sports Radio 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia, and the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channels as well. It's time for the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. We'll talk about the Commanders. It's still hard to say it. The Commanders acquiring quarterback Carson Wentz. Also, the team signing offensive coordinator Scott Turner to a contract extension. You already know how I feel already. Washington released Landon Collins and losing Brandon Sheriff and Tim Settle, and also losing J.D. McKissick. All right. The Commanders traded the Colts for quarterback Carson Wentz. Washington traded away their 2022 third-round pick and next year's third-rounder that can convert to a second-rounder based on incentives. The two teams switched 2022 second-round draft picks. Your thoughts on the deal, Lake?
I mean, honestly, they needed a quarterback. They did. And we know Carson Wentz it could be hit or miss. If they can catch lightning in a bottle and get him back to the form that he displayed when he was in Philly, especially his rookie season, that it'll be one of the steals of free agencies, free agency signing, or trades. But it also could go sour. And the only problem that I've had over the years with Carson is, and knowing some guys that were coaches with the Eagles, I'm good friends with, they said that he definitely was a person that didn't necessarily take criticism well, and secondly, wasn't the best locker room guy. Wasn't so much a distraction, but he just wasn't one of the guys. And I think if you look at this football team, the success that they had with Alex Smith before the injury, one of the things that a lot of the players said about Alex Smith at the time was that he was one of them. He's one of the guys that stayed in the locker room with them, didn't exit out. He was one of the guys. And they haven't had that guy since. They just haven't. So if Carson Wentz is going to bring any success to this team, he's got to be a guy that's going to embrace the locker room and be more of a vocal leader and not a me guy.
Would you say he's like the best quarterback this team's had since
potentially
Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins?
His skill set's better than Kirk's. I mean, he listen, when he's on his game, he's top 10 caliber quarterback. I mean, he's got that kind of potential.
Yeah.
It's just that you haven't seen him put it all together. But if you look at his numbers last year in Indy, I mean, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 3,500 yards, that's pretty damn good. Yeah. I mean, if you said that Taylor Heineke could do that next year, those same exact numbers, you probably would think they'd win some more games. So they only gave up 2 third-rounders for this guy. It wasn't like they had to break the bank. They didn't have to put in a player that, if you were doing something like Russell Wilson, you probably would have had some big names in that trade. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that's the only way they were going to get their quarterback, because nobody's signing here as a free agent.
Do you think they could have waited, though, for the Colts to release him? Because I just feel like the Colts could. And I like Carson Wentz. I just thought that the Colts weren't going to. I thought the Colts were eventually going to release him.
I do. I think it was a little bit of a panic move because everything fell through with Russell Wilson. I know it's probably something that can't be done, but you see that now Houston's willing to move, Deshaun Watson. And, when I see that, I'm like, I still would try to go get him.
Me too. I would still do it. I would still do it
because you got a quarterback. Whatever, he'll get over it.
Yeah.
But the reason we already know why they can't bring him here because of the simple standpoint of what they've been going through as an organization. Listen, I mean, if he's acquitted of everything and everything's dropped, I mean, I don't care what the stigma is, because if he goes out on the first game, throw 4 or 5 touchdowns, nobody remembers any of that.
I've been saying that. I've been saying it when it was dicey. When everybody looked at me was like, you can't do it, Wole. You can't do it. And I'm like, okay.
Man, listen, when
not everybody knocking on his door. Not everybody
cares all ills. And if you get that guy and he's, bringing people in the stands and they're winning games, nobody cares at that point. And that's not to be insensitive to the women if that did happen. But bottom line is if he's acquitted of everything and or basically not charged with anything, you have to accept that. You have to look at it like, okay, he's innocent. If that's the way the law is going to be, you can't have it both ways. You can't have if he was guilty, then you say, yeah, he was guilty, he did it. They're saying that nothing happened. So you got to look at it that way and get a guy a chance to get his livelihood back.
So you, Mo?
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think the trade for Carson Wentz was a fair trade. I think 2 third-round picks is not a heavy price tag. I think if he plays to his supreme caliber, I think it's the steal of the offseason. If he plays like last year and he's a mid-tier quarterback, he's better than Taylor Heineke, right?
Yeah, he definitely is.
He gives you more of a chance to win than Taylor Heineke. He has them throws that you guys were talking about last year that were short, that were off time. They're not going to be short with this guy. He has plenty of arm, right? He has the mobility to get out the pocket and make things happen. He is sometimes an accident, and he knows the division very well. He is sometimes an accident waiting to happen, right?
Yes,
when you look at the advanced metrics with him, like that 27-7 is not really how he played. You look at the QBR, you look at how he played in some of those big games in his division last year. Yeah. Those are some of his more woeful games. My only concern with Carson Wentz is he had the NFL's leading rusher in the league last year, right? And the QBR and the play was like that. Yeah. You're telling me he's going to do a little bit better with Antonio Gibson, unless Antonio Gibson's about to take a quantum leap, right? And you look at
Jonathan Taylor.
He's no Jonathan Taylor, right? He's no Jonathan. He doesn't hit the hole hard enough. He doesn't. They kind of got similar speed, but
he's not just not that
caliber of player.
He's not natural
running back.
Right. So I want to see how the other topic we're going to get to later.
Exactly. That's all I was going to say. That's all I was.
I want to see how that guy mixes. I want to see how that guy mixes Carson Wentz's skill and ability with the players on this roster. We need to see something out of Curtis Samuel so he doesn't become one of those washes of a player that was picked in the offseason that didn't make sense. And I'm hearing that Cam Sims is headed to Oakland from what I've been reading earlier or something like of that nature. So they're already short of playmakers outside of 17. We lost McKissick, trusted guy out the backfield, which Carson Wentz really doesn't check down anyway. So I don't think that's much of a loss with him at quarterback. But they got to bring some more playmakers in here to make this work for Carson Wentz, and hopefully Logan Thomas comes back and he's that safety valve that Carson could use. Because I've seen Carson make a lot of throws to Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle this past season that Logan Thomas, being a better tight end, could make more use of.
No, I agree. He loves his tight ends. Zach Ertz was a guy they were interested in, but he's going back to the Cardinals. All your points were valid, are great points. It's just that, when looking at Carson and the running back situation, he's Jonathan Taylor. He's just an amazing. He's amazing. He's just an amazing running back. You can make the argument though. You can make the argument that Carson has better wide receiver play with Washington in terms of more talent, because all he had was the dude from USC. And because T.Y. Hill was out most of the year. T.Y. was out for most of the year. I'm talking about last year. T.Y. was out for most of the year. I mean, he didn't have T.Y. He really didn't have T.Y.
Yeah, but you have Pascal, who's a good player.
I mean, he DC, but I mean, to be a number 2, should be a number 2. He's DC though. I love my DC folks. But he should be in your number
PG County,
two.
baby.
Yeah, he shouldn't be. Yeah, PG, exactly. He shouldn't be your number two. Like, he shouldn't be your number two. I like him, but he should be your number two. So I'm just saying, like,
is he better than Washington's number two?
Huh?
Is he better than Washington's number two?
Yes, by far.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not arguing that. I mean, I do. Yeah. I like Diami. I just don't think that Diami wasn't a fit for the quarterback that they had. Just wasn't a good fit for the quarterback they had with that limited arm.
He's somebody gonna throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, because Diami's he's a deep ball player, so he needs a guy who can let it go. But Glenn, what about you, man?
Man, same thing. Y'all stole it. You know me. Carson Wentz's numbers because he had the number one running back in the league. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm not an Antonio Gibson fan by far. Y'all know that. If you listen to any of these shows, I'm not an Antonio Gibson fan. Not because he can't run the football, just because he hadn't learned the position yet. Mm-hmm. And when you need him in a key situation, you know, he doesn't do what he needs to do, whether take a knee, go down instead of going out of bounds, fall forward instead of falling back. It's just the simple things as a running back. And then the fumbling issue he had last year as well in key situations was big. You can't be a running back in this league, especially NFC East, when you got to win games. And every time your running back grabs the football, you holding your breath, right? You're holding your breath. And in a lot of those situations, he fumbled when Washington was drive killers. Washington was on a drive. They were getting ready to go inside it, or either in the red zone or getting ready to go in the red zone, and he fumbled the football. So you can't worry about that. But Carson Wentz, I think he can be. Lake said it. He knows the division. He knows what it takes to win in this division. He has to stay healthy. Washington has to keep him upright, has to keep him, let him be able to find receivers. And I know we jump, Scott Turner has to be able to understand this is a smart quarterback. So this playbook that you have that you kind of want to open up, let this bad boy open up on Carson Wentz, because you only have him for a year. This is audition for Carson Wentz, right? Yeah. Either he's going to be an elite quarterback in this league, or he's going to go back to a backup quarterback for the rest of his career. Mm-hmm. This is a make or break for Carson Wentz. So is it make or break for the Commanders? Is it make or break for Carson Wentz? And how can these guys marry this thing together so it works for everyone? And the Washington could actually finish well in the NFC East if Carson Wentz can get on page, get on point. Washington really hadn't had a true quarterback since Kirk Cousins. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, this could. I agree with what Glenn said. There's great points too. That it's an audition, but you know what? I mean, you can have everybody on a picket line next year, like coaches and all of them. Or, you know, you resign this guy to a long-term deal because he played well. You got your quarterback, you know, long-term answer. I know Wole don't like hearing that right now.
No, he cool. I mean, you talking about with the quarterback or anything else? The quarterback fine. I like Carson. I like Carson.
Well, if Carson Wentz comes in and they win, then Ron Rivera's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, that's the only problem. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other factors. I mean, I could deal with Ron. It's another factor, but it is what it is. He's already. It's okay. It's another factor.
Turner resigned.
Exactly. That's my issue. That's my issue. I mean, that's keep it buck. That's my issue. I could deal with Ron. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think Scott, with this veteran quarterback like Carson Wentz, you'll see more from this offense. We got rid of, like you mentioned, you got rid of J.D. McKissick. So you won't have to worry about check downs. Like you mentioned, Logan Thomas will have a great time because, again, he knows how to get the tight ends open. So he knows how to deal. What Washington is missing is that guy. You know, I know you talk about the Army. Is he the guy that can blow the top off? Is he that guy to complement Terry McLaurin? And again, we talk about McLaurin. McLaurin is in the final year as well. You know, McLaurin is one of those years. This is a make or break for this whole Washington Commander team. If it goes south, this team is going to blow up.
They're going to lock him in before the season starts. I assure you that.
But does he want to lock in though? The question is,
if they put the right kind of money out there, he will. Because one thing you know about Terry is a guy that he knows his role, he knows his place, and for everybody that says he wants to leave, he's never struck me as a quitter or a person that wants to leave. He knows that he is the face of this football team right now. I mean, literally, he's the face of the Washington Commanders, and I think he relishes that, you know. And look, you get a Carson Wentz in, you have one of his closest friends and Curtis Samuels, who he knows what Curtis Samuels can do if he's healthy. So, you know, there are some pieces in place here that a guy like Wentz could come in and enhance the product a little bit. Logan Thomas, to me, was a Pro Bowl tight end 2 years ago. He should have made it over Evan Ingram, but he didn't.
Absolutely.
You know, so last year he was going to be on his way before he got injured. I mean, he's a an up and coming playmaking tight end. And then you got the kid Bates that showed a lot of promise last year as well. So they've got some pieces in place. I'm not saying that they're the 2007 Patriots. I'm not saying that. I mean, bottom line is that they do have some weapons, and I do think that first round pick that they have should go to a receiver. If the kid from Alabama or if the kid from Ohio State sitting there at receiver, you have to take one of them.
The kid from USC also.
Oh,
he's nice with it too.
Yeah, he nice.
He can land and go.
Yeah.
Speaking of all these weapons, and who's going to be the maestro of it all, right? It was also reported that offensive coordinator Scott Turner received a multi-year extension. Do we think that this was a good move by Ron Rivera late?
It's tough for me to say. I think Scott, he's done some things well. I mean, he has. And he's done some things well without his quarterback. So when you can see kind of what you're trying to accomplish with no quarterback, that tells you that give him a quarterback and then really judge him at that point. Like, for me, a fair assessment is going to be this year with Carson Wentz. It'll give me, because you got a quarterback that can make all the throws, literally. And your offense is tailor-made to take the ball down the field. You just didn't have a quarterback that could do that last year. So now you have that. So it's going to be a fair look to see what he can do. Was I surprised they locked him in for a long-term deal? Yeah, I was. I really was. But I guess they're just looking at it like from a stability standpoint. And maybe they have some kind of, what do you call it? Successions, in place.
Succession plan?
Yeah, succession plan. And maybe he's the guy that's going to come in after Rivera. That seems like what some teams are doing now. So maybe that's their plan with them. So to answer your question, I don't really have a problem with it. I think offense wasn't one of the downfalls of this team last year. I think it was the defensive side of the ball didn't live up to their billing. Offense, sometimes they drew blanks, but a lot of times they put up points and numbers on people and had some wins against some teams that they had no business beating, like Tampa, for instance. So that was a good call, a good game call by Scott Turner for that.
Glenn, what you got?
Yeah, go to Glenn.
I'm going to
You already know.
I'm setting this up for you, baby. I'm setting it up for you, Wole.
Go to Glenn. I think Scott Turner, again, I mentioned earlier, is a make or break year for him. Even though they give him an extension, he has to be. There's no excuses for him right now, right? You got a veteran quarterback that's been in the league. There's no excuse. You can't say the guy's young. You can't say I'm dealing with a rookie. I'm dealing with a kid who's only spent 1 year at Ohio State. I'm dealing with a
one-legged person.
Right, a one-legged quarterback. So again, you have a viable quarterback who if he was not injured, would have been an MVP in this league. Right? For 13 games, he was the MVP of the league, right? Definitely. And so if he doesn't he has everything he wants right now. All the tools in the toolbox. They got a decent running game. Add another piece there. You might need to get a receiver. Offensively, shouldn't be an issue, right? So was it good for them? Yeah, because who else are they going to get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else are you going to get to bring in and be your offensive coordinator, right? You're not getting Byron Leftwich, right? He had coach material. So you're not getting anybody else to come in.
What we got? I misheard you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not getting anybody else. Can we be honest? No one's knocking the door down to become a Washington Commander offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
No one's knocking the door to take Scott Turner away from us either, though.
Right.
Too.
Nobody's knocking the door to take Scott Turner away from us neither. Right? But nobody really wants to get into this organization right now until it's get together. Right? So you have that. So is it a bad move for them? Nah, because again, we know Ron Rivera and that organization, the organization is loyal, and you got to live and die with what you have. And they're gonna live and die with
right.
Yeah. So
all right. So coming up the plate.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Take it away, baby.
Sometimes some people have just too much power. It is what it is. It is. It's some people just have too much power. And in any organization, we talk about organizations, any organization, regardless of he had a bad hand, he had this quarterback or that quarterback. It's still a proving mentality. You got to earn it to get it. Like, you got to earn it. And we don't say this. I think I tweeted this. We don't say this about quarterbacks, for instance. We don't say, the quarterback's line is trash. The receiver is trash. Like we say that quarterback was trash. We don't say he's trash. He's trash because of this. We say he's just trash. Right. But when it comes to, for some strange reason, because I have this argument with folks about all types of quarterbacks coming to DC. But for some strange reason, when it comes to Scott Turner, the excuses come out. He didn't have this. He didn't have that. He didn't. And I'm like, well, you don't use this argument for a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? But use this argument for the offensive coordinator. So
you know
I
what,
think,
though?
yeah.
But you know what though? Not to defend Scott Turner, but he didn't fumble, at the 1 yard line in week 1.
No, he did not. Agreed.
They had a lead when they fumbled at their own 1.
Of course. Oh yeah.
So he didn't fumble 6 more times either.
Yeah.
He didn't throw multiple interceptions in the same game.
No, he didn't.
So there was some shaky play from some players. And
definitely.
And if you take away some of those turnovers, you might have 2-3 more wins under your belt.
I agree.
So with minimal talent, let's call it like it is.
No, definitely.
We only had 1 receiver on that roster last year that scared anybody. We already know that was Terry.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a tight end that scared anybody when Logan Thomas got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a running back that scared anybody. Let me rephrase that.
He's scared.
McKissick made people game plan for him because he could come out the backfield. But as far as a guy that was just going to
consistently,
no, they still don't have that on the roster at running back. No offense to those guys, they're talented, but they're not. They don't have, in my opinion, a home run starting running back on their roster.
You mean like a workhorse type running back?
Not even a workhorse. I mean, because Antonio Gibson actually is a workhorse. He really is. He's a volume guy. Mm-hmm. But when you're a volume guy, you should be having some big plays.
Yeah, I would say this though. We've seen it. So this is where I go back to his play. I don't hate. Actually, I love it. Going back to his play calling. You know what I mean? Like we saw in the winning streak, and I've said this even in the beginning of the season. Like once you lost Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor, well, to be honest with you, even Ryan Fitzpatrick was your quarterback. Like run the football, play that style. And then you'll win football. You'll be more competitive playing that style rather than playing the style that you were playing with. It took you to the bye to change up. It literally took you to the bye week to change up. My thing about like it for him, when I look at Scott Turner, and it goes to I guess a lot of some of these young offensive-minded coaches or whatever. It's always about throwing the football and not doing what it takes to win football games. I use Kyle Shanahan as a prime example of what you do to win a game as a play caller. Kyle Shanahan went to a playoff game, only threw the ball 8 times. Why? Because running game was working. He didn't care about airing it out. He was like, yo, this works. I'm going to win this way.
Yeah, but those teams when they had that 4-game winning streak, guys, we got to put that in perspective. Who were the 4 teams that they beat?
Seattle, Tampa,
Oakland.
The Raiders, playoff team. They beat some decent teams in that streak, man. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not saying they were great.
They caught the Raiders literally. I'm just saying. After a nightmare had happened.
I'm just saying, like I agree you say, but I'm saying these are some decent teams they did beat, and all of a sudden he wanted to go backwards. You know, I'm just saying, like, do what works. That's all I'm saying. Just do what works. I just feel like when you look at him I agree with you. If he wants to do what he wants to do, yes. He's going to need better talent. But also sometimes you as a coach, and like you coached, Mo coaches, Glen coaches, as a coach, you see what you have, right? You don't try to do things that your players can't do. You try to do things what they can do or what helps you win a game. So if I know that I like a 3-point offense, right? I like to try to get somebody a screen for a 3. But if I know I don't got no 3-point shooters, I ain't going to do that. Like I'm not going to play.
I agree with you on that. I'll say this though. I don't even know what his identity is.
Facts. True.
Facts.
Like, so if he wants to throw, fine. But I don't know that that's his identity. If he wants to run the football, we did see that it worked. We did see that the running game worked. But do you trust the guy that's fumbling all the time?
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a very good point.
So it's. I just feel like this team is they're not as close to being what we want them to be.
Mhm.
They're not. They're really not. And a lot of that's coaching. Let's call it like it is.
I agree. I agree.
It's coaching. It's the head coach, it's the
Yes.
defense coordinator, it's the
All of
offensive
them.
coordinator. And for my money, everything's going to stay the same until they learn that. When they keep telling us, I sat there all year long in practices and hearing, after every practice coming in the media room telling us that he's just trying to get these guys to do things the right way. You only have 3 winning seasons in 11 years. The right way is what? I mean, you had a 15-1 season. Oh, you did have the MVP of the league that year who carried you. So again, what is the right way? I just want to know, because the right way, if you were 8-3, as far as you had 8 winning seasons out of 11 and 3 losing seasons, okay, I get it. But you haven't won. So you got to change your approach too if you're trying to get a right way. Are you talking about your way as a player in 86? That might be something. But as far as a coach, there's a lot more coaches out there on the line that have had way better numbers than this guy.
Definitely that. With that being said, Washington released Landon Collins last week. How will this impact the Washington Commanders? Like, how do you think releasing Landon Collins will impact the Washington Commanders?
If you told me this was going to happen 6-7 months ago during the season, I'd have been like, do it now during the season. But then they made the change. They played him. And I don't know why people looked at this like this was some miraculous move that was made to play him close to the box. That's his game. That's where he's always excelled. But when you got him playing too deep, I mean, he can't cover anybody. Couldn't cover himself. So the thing is that why are you putting him in position to look bad? I'm just saying, like, Landon Collins is one of the worst on-ball cover guys I've ever seen in my life. And that's a fact. Yeah. Like, he really has no IQ to cover people. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm just saying, like, there's some guys that can anticipate a ball coming their way and they can break on it. I mean, Cam Curl's great at that stuff.
Yeah, he is. Landon
Collins is not. But Landon Collins has an IQ of just a ferocious linebacker. He's just an undersized version of one. So when they moved him close to the line of scrimmage last year, he played at a Pro Bowl level once they moved him there. And now you find where he's good at, and you got to release him. It's just so Washington.
It's really so Washington.
And of course, they did it to save some cap space. Not to stray here, but that's the one reason why I'm upset about the Carson Wentz move.
The money, man.
All your cap room. It ate it all up. So you better have gotten this right. But yeah, to get back to Glen's question, it's going to impact them, but it's not a big blow, because you have to think you got Bobby McCain in free safety. You obviously have Cam Curl now at strong safety, and he doesn't have to worry about platooning or anything. Let him be himself, and he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. He really is. So that's a good look to have your mainstays. I'm not sure McCain's the true answer at free safety for them. They might look at a safety in the draft if one is sitting there. So is it going to impact them? Well, you take some talent off the field. You do, but you also free up some money. So it has to be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's a go, Mo.
I can't let you do my boy like that, man. When he was in Big Blue, he had some kind of sense. I think I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened when he made his way down. Hey, listen, man, the man made his way down I-95 and everything went to
his last year in Big Blue wasn't the best though. His last year in Big Blue.
That's true too. He needs a lot of support. He needs a lot of support back there.
Yeah, his last year in Big Blue wasn't the best, man.
You lost Landon in the way that to me, you shouldn't have had him in the first place. I didn't think he was a fit when he first signed. I thought he was overpaid when he got here. I think that was the year that the safety contracts jumped up like $3 million per year from the last big jump. It went from like 11, 12 million to 14, and everybody was getting 14. And it clearly was a cash grab for him, because as terrible as the GM as Gettleman is, he knew not to give that man $14 million per year. And he knew that, right? But like you said, like you noted, the man was going to call. He was too much against the cap. He wasn't producing at a $16 million rate anymore. He had to go. He had an Achilles. His first year was down. Then he had the Achilles year. Then he had this linebacker year. He had to go. Like at least, I think last year it was just a matter of he was a leader. You know, like I think they felt indebted to him to give him his opportunity to get back on the field after he tore his Achilles, even though Cam Curl was the clear choice at the position after the season he had. And they made the move basically like I think it was a ceremonious move. He should have known that he was getting cut this offseason the way that they made that move, because who was going to pay him that X amount of dollars to play that position? He said they asked him for 2 pay cuts. He was okay with the first one.
Which is fair.
He said they asked him for 2 pay cuts. So you can see how it was going downhill fast. It was going downhill fast.
They basically wanted to PO him. They wanted to get him mad so he could be out of there.
Yeah,
that's what happened. But let's be honest, guys. What was wrong with 2 years ago coming into last year with Jeremy Reeves and Cam Curl as your safeties? I mean, I thought they played well together. I thought that there was some chemistry between them. Reeves, even the games Reeves this year, people were saying he didn't play well. That's not true. He actually was in position to make plays every time some of those tough catches were made.
Yeah.
He's just a player that needs to be on the field and get a lather, man, play. I would be perfectly fine if Jeremy Reeves was given every opportunity to be their starting free safety this year. I think him and Cam Curl are a really nice young tandem.
I actually like McCain. I thought McCain played well towards the end of the season. I don't have an issue with McCain. I like Reeves too, though. I like Reeves. I mean, McCain made some picks. I don't have an issue with either. I just think that Curl, to me, the main mistake is Cam Curl should be in his position. Like, he has to be in his position. He has to be all that. He can't be platooning anymore. And I mean, the Landon thing, he played at such a high level before that injury, and then towards the end of the season last year, he was playing at such a high level, like you said, like a Pro Bowler. But I was kind of like in the in between, because that position. Because I remember thinking about it when folks were saying they're going to move Jamin Davis to outside, and then I'm like, you need a middle linebacker. But y'all talking about a middle linebacker, huh? There's no middle linebacker, so I'm like, you can't have Landon. That means you can't have Landon on the field if you're talking about another linebacker. Then I'm like, all right, then there's really, in the grand scheme of things, you don't really need Landon if you want to keep Jamin Davis. Like, if you still want to keep Jamin Davis and have him as a starter, you don't really need Landon. You know what I mean? Like, you really don't. So
no, you don't.
It's like there's no room for him. There's no room
too much
for
money.
him.
There's too much money for
that too. Yeah.
When you get that kind of money, you need to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, you have to be a difference maker.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. I mean, he played well, but he was supposed to play well. So that's the other thing that we have to stop doing is not us. I'm just saying, like, supporters of the team.
Yeah.
Have to stop, when somebody does well, they overhype it. I always say compared to other players at that position around the league. Are they playing well, or are they just playing well here?
You talking about
that's a big difference.
It's like you're talking about a second pick overall. Are you talking about a second pick overall?
Don't get me started. Every week.
What you talking about?
Let me get to the listeners that are just joining us. Thank you. This is all Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports team. Right now, it's your guys Mo, Wole, and Glen chatting here with the Sports Journey's Washington Commanders reporter, Lake Lewis Jr. We just touched on Landon Collins. Another big name that left town was guard Brandon Sheriff, who signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and defensive tackle Tim Settle, who signed with the Buffalo Bills. Do we think Coach Rivera dropped the ball by not trading either of these two players before they hit free agency this offseason?
Yes.
Yes. That shirt quick. Good one. Yes.
If you franchise Brandon Sheriff, right? If you knew you wasn't going to pay him, give him the money. Hey, get something for him. How many players have left the Washington Commanders and you didn't get anything for them, right? And they go somewhere else and blow up. This is one of your mainstays of your offensive line, right? So and one of your mainstays, everybody else was gone from that, everybody else was gone. So you have either you're going to pay him or you got to let him go or get something for him. And they didn't get anything for him. They could at least got some second round picks, some young guys, something for him, right? But you got nothing for Tim Settles. Again, a young guy who goes somewhere, he'll go to Buffalo and be a superstar. Right? And be a superstar in Buffalo. The AFC East, and he'll be out there and be a star. You're going to be a Pro Bowl player.
Better scheme, too. And it's a better scheme. And he going to
be a Pro Bowl player. Washington messed up here. Ron Rivera messed up by not getting anything for these two players.
I mean, you could have re-signed Tim Settle.
You could have.
Face it. Are you going to have money to sign Deron Payne?
Yeah, that's what it was.
So you have all these other scenarios in place.
Who's cheaper though, Blake? But Settle's cheap would be cheaper too.
Oh, absolutely cheaper, and you might get more production.
Yeah, I mean, you might get more.
And so I'm just saying, like these are hard decisions. Like everybody keeps saying, oh, well, you got to keep all these players. Most teams can't do that. Mm-hmm. So you have to decide who's a real core player. And if they feel like Deron Payne is a core player, I'm gonna say it, and I don't care how it's taken. Then I need more production. I mean, bottom line, he played well, but again, did he play well on a grand scheme or did he play well here? And that's where people have to start asking that question. Like Jonathan Allen played well on a grand scheme this year. Mm-hmm. Was in the Pro Bowl. But up until this year, I didn't think he played.
Yeah, good point.
Well on a national level. So now you have that. You're hoping Deron Payne next year can take that next leap, and then you can pay him. But go ahead.
I think that point is the one that I want to hammer home. We look at the price tag for Jonathan Allen. I apologize to him on record this year, because before he signed that deal, I said, I'm not paying $15 million a year for leadership, because he had a C on his chest. Then he came out and he proved it. Are you going to do the same thing with Deron Payne and mess around and pay him $12 to $15 million on the assumption that he played well? He's going to play well, right? And you got Montez Sweat coming up after that, and then soon after that, you're going to have the Predator after that, right?
You also going to have somebody too.
Cam Curl too.
You got Montez. So you got Montez.
I said somebody was going to be the odd man out anyway, right? So I thought Deron Payne was going to be that. I thought they were going to keep his two backups, Ioannidis and what's the name for
Settle. I thought so too.
For a lower amount of money, let him walk, because them two together, we've seen Ioannidis get 6 to 8 sacks in this league before in multiple systems.
Yes.
Right? In multiple systems. We've seen Tim Settles come in spot duty and get 5 to 7 sacks, right? Yep. Right. So I'm taking that at a lesser and give him more reps, give him more at-bats next to the guy that you've already chose. You've already made a decision with Jonathan Allen. You stuck with that one. That's $72 million you taking to the bank for the next 4 years. If he has to be the guy he was last year, you let Tim Settle play on the other side of him. You let him and Ioannidis interchange over there so that they're fresh and they can be their best selves. And you let the two young dogs on the outside do what they do. I don't know what they're going to do with Deron Payne now, like you mentioned, because offering him $12 to $15 million is asinine, ass 10, ass 11. Mm-hmm. I don't know where you go. He's going to end up walking. He's going to end up walking unless he's going to end up having to walk, because you're not going to get any trade value for him next year, because everybody knows you have to let him go.
The only way he can stay, because I know that I even heard talks about, which is wild, like Ioannidis talks. I heard like that number is coming up. So even doing something with Ioannidis, which again, I don't even get that, because Ioannidis has been the most consistent D tackle.
Yeah, but you had some young guys that stepped up too. You had James Williams and then you also had
Two Hill. You talking about Two Hill?
I think you're talking about 96, right?
Yeah, Casey Two
Hill.
Yeah, Casey Two Hill played well too. And then you had some guys, that you got to keep in mind that with Chase and with Montez, they're hybrids, in my opinion. They're guys that can put their hand in the dirt, but they also can come around the edge. And you kind of develop in the Shaka Tony, wait a minute.
I know.
You already.
I know, golly. I know, Penn State. I know, Penn State.
Troy Apke, we are.
Don't get me started on the Apke thing.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I was shocked by that.
Apke, okay. We couldn't. They weren't worried about keeping JD with Apke. I mean, I'm just over this.
special teamer. I mean,
I
that's
know,
what
right?
they-
I know he's such a great special teamer. I know he's
But
such a
this is also a great draft for receiving running backs too. Great draft for receiving the running backs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh
They
yeah,
gotta get a receiver out of this draft, and they're home run, huge big play type receivers that could. I mean, look, I'm gonna say this. This might sound really crazy to people watching this.
Mm-hmm.
That kid from Alabama, so Alabama, USC, and Ohio State, those guys could come in and kind of be number ones. That's how good they are.
Oh yeah, if he's healthy enough, Alabama Alabama got a track record. That USC is mean. They got a bunch, man. Even though I mean, you know what? Because the track record, I mean, I hate saying it because being a Michigan fan, but Ohio State,
both of them,
both of them dudes. You know, and I'm all about matching. I'm all about matching. Like this is why I know you're gonna be a dude. Is that on Saturdays he balled out, and that combine was special. Yeah. Like so, you combine those two. Like to me, he's like a can't miss. Like you gotta, if you have him at 11, if he slips to you or whatever,
you gotta take him.
I take him.
You're talking about Wilson though, right?
I'm talking about not Wilson. I'm talking about Lottie.
You can't take Olave at 11.
I'll take Olave.
You can't take Olave at 11.
I'll take Olave, dog. I've seen Olave. I've seen Olave.
You can't take Olave at 11.
Olave gonna be the dude.
Hey, Wole, look at
Olave gonna be that
dude.
Relax, man.
I'm taking him at 11.
I'm taking a lot. They won't let me. I get Olave in a second. I love Olave.
Listen. That's Wilson. Wilson is the guy that if you're there at 11, it's got to be Wilson or it's got to be the dude from Alabama.
Olave like
Jameson Williams, right?
Yes.
Jameson Williams.
But they got. I mean, a lot of people got the Kim to SC like the top rated.
Oh no, he's nice.
They got him top rated.
Nice. But see, I just think that there's certain receivers that for type of systems that Turner's trying to run.
I gotta know what his system
is. He's never really implemented a huge receiver. I mean, you know, in his thing, he likes fast, versatile guys, but I do think that they need a guy that, you know, Terry to me should be playing more downfield than what he. I
agree. I think so.
You know,
utilize that speed, yeah.
And I think they're going to try to do that. But in fairness, Terry is stiff. He's not like an elusive fast. Mm-hmm. He's once he gets going fast, he's fast.
Yeah.
They need somebody that's going to break you down.
Fluid.
Fluid. Get a play and take it to the house on you. And one of those guys can do that for sure. And you telling me that now you have Carson Wentz and you come away with a first round draft pick that's a wide receiver, a high one to pair with Terry, to pair with Logan and some of the other guys they have, Curtis Samuel, that you can slip in the slot.
Now you got weapons.
Oh, you got some weapons now.
Now you got weapons.
Sure.
That'll open up the running game though. That'll open up the running game because it has to take everybody out of the box. Yeah, to take you out of the box. So now because you're worried about your receivers, and now you can let Antonio Gibson begin to run, which we talked about earlier. I mean, the dude's rushing. His longest rush was 27 yards last year. So he ain't a breakaway guy.
So you seen that screen pass he took to the house? That you see, we ain't talking about the pass because Buffalo he took to the house.
Again, if you get quality receivers with Carson Wentz, it opens everything up. If you look at what he did when Philly had receivers, it opened the running game up for them.
Yeah, Miles Sanders had his best years, early with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then when they didn't have anybody to throw the ball down the field, Miles Sanders was neutralized. Oh, wait a minute. Miles Sanders.
Washington.
We are.
Washington can figure out the backup running back in the draft. There's a lot of good running backs.
You got Cook brother. You got Cook brother.
That are good receiving threats out the backfield coming out of college football because of the way their systems
play. You could get dude from Michigan. I think he would be a nice fit. He's a true running
back.
Oh,
you mean the power back? You talking about
Hassan.
Hassan.
25.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, there's some guys that are out
Michigan
there.
State.
That's the one though. Well, that's not a to me should be a first rounder, but that's a whole different argument. That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
I've seen him on Saturday. I guess like that's and he ran his speed. His 40 time was dope, and he's a power back.
He's ready to go.
You could get Alabama's running back in the third, fourth round.
Yeah, you could get You can get him in the third, fourth round. You could get him in the third round.
You still could be doing something. They have to address that. there's no way you can go into this year with just thinking that Gibson's going to be your guy from day one.
No, you can't. He can't. He's not. He ain't built that way. He ain't built that way.
He's not a running back.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. He's a converted player. They're listen, you know how it is when you see guys play running back their whole life from Pee Wee football, their vision is there. They see things. They know how to maneuver in the box. They know how to, hit
Saquon Barkley.
Totally different.
Like a Saquon Barkley. Like a Saquon Barkley.
Where's he from?
Go ahead. I threw that for you, man. I gave that to you.
Yeah, we are, of course. But I'm just saying, though, seriously, like.
Get me started on Saquon Barkley.
Listen. Since we're talking about Penn State, let me just say this. There is a receiver out there that he's first round. I don't think there's a way they can get him. But if you trade it back, you could maybe get a second first rounder. You could get 2 first rounders. Dawson. I'm trying to tell you, man. Dawson from Penn
I know what
State,
you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
They need a receiver, like we just said, that's fluid. They need somebody that can create
This is the
yards
draft,
after
man.
the catch.
It's a deep receiver draft, though. It really is a deep receiver draft, though.
This is the draft. What's the second round draft pick that the Colts had that just got traded back? Does anybody know the number?
It's like I want to say it's 40 something. I want to say it's 40 something. I could be
It's like
wrong.
in the mid, right? It's like
it's in the
Like
mid.
45.
Yeah, right.
I mean, listen, man, you got plenty of receivers that's going to fall there. Remember, a lot of teams want receivers in the second round because they want to, that they don't want to put that 5th-year option on them.
Yeah.
The best receivers that have come out the draft in the last 5 years, outside of the last 5 years, a lot of them have been second round draft picks.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been Debo Samuels, AJ Brown. Who's another one?
Can we not compare Debo, say Curtis Samuels and Debo? Can we not do that though? A lot of people like to do that. Can we not do that?
I mean, there was guys like Nico Hardman. There was guys like Hardman that you knew but this team never drafted. Like they never had that kind of vision or foresight to know a guy just needed an opportunity to get more balls and they would blow up.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can get this squared away because this is a draft. We've been saying this for years, but they cannot miss on this draft.
Can I say this though, like about this draft, like the draft, like do you have before we close this show out, we have to close it out soon. Do you trust this regime in terms of their front office to draft compared to what we seen with like Kyle Smith, what he was doing when he was able to run the draft? He's not here anymore, but can you say you could exactly? That's what I'm saying. No,
Kyle Smith had it locked up.
Yes, that's my point. So when people talk about how this team needs to draft right and get the right, I'm like, look at what happened last year with the draft.
Who produced from this draft from last year?
Maybe Cosme. Cosme. That's it.
Because he was thrown in there. He had
but he was the one. I guess you would say he rated good in terms of run blocking. But other than Cosme, that was it. You drafted Jamin Davis in the 19th pick.
Wait. Let's back that up with Cosme.
Yeah.
Did he play well here or did he play well on a national scale?
Good point. Very good point. That's a very good point.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a very good point.
We got to stop tricking ourselves to believe that because they played well.
He was solid.
The team sucked.
He was solid. I can say solid.
I said all the time, the offensive line, the Washington offensive line was not good this year.
No.
They were not good at all. Anytime Tyler Heineke had to run for his life, this dude really ran for his life every time he dropped back. Y'all know you held your breath every time he had to drop back. I mean, let's be honest. You didn't know what was going to happen every time you was hoping he would get away and do a little magic trick, but you held your breath. The offensive line did not do what it needed to do for this Washington Commanders team.
I'm gonna say it again. Like we are just thinking about that. Like it's hard to Lake's point on a national scale. There are a lot of bad offensive lines in football. Like on a national scale, the problem with I feel like our fan base. I'm gonna keep saying it. 71 spoiled us, man. Like I'm being real. Like 71 spoiled us.
You had a Hall of Fame lineman.
Yeah, you're not.
You didn't, and you know who else spoiled them too?
Curtis.
People laugh at.
Morgan
Moses.
Yeah. Morgan.
Yes.
People used to always
getting on him. Exactly.
But the guy never missed a game. Would always get hurt, get up, come back in another series later.
Both sides.
I'm gonna tell you why.
You had Scherf next to him, and Eric Flowers excelled when he was in there.
Yeah.
But then you saw last year when you got to do it by yourself, it's not
It's
the same.
different. It's different. And I think for Morgan's probably, I agree with you about Morgan. The issue with Morgan too, with his, like, why people are getting on him, because all right, like they keep thinking of the tackles, the right tackles, like a John Jansen. Forget, like John Jansen had to move the right tackle. Like he was playing left tackle. He's got left tackle playing right tackle because of Curtis Samuels. He moved to, Chris Samuels, he moved to right. So like this base,
Brandon Sheriff was drafted as a left tackle.
A left tackle, he had to move in the guard. Yeah, exactly. So we get so, but like there's a lot of bad lines of football. So we've been spoiled, man. We don't have anybody to match up to what we are used to having. So, but I mean, the line could get better. I mean, I like your point though, like to a point, like what do we compare it to on a national scale? Yeah, I mean, to be honest with the draft, which wasn't good under Rivera last season when they were running it. Like the drafts that were good, I'm keep saying, everybody keeps naming these players that are the core Washington Commanders players. They were under Kyle Smith. They weren't under Rivera. Like everybody, they weren't.
I've yet to see a Rivera draft that's been a home run, because you can even call it like it is. Yeah, he won Defensive Player of the Year, but he was struggling this year before he got hurt. Chase Young,
of course. Look,
Number 2 pick.
Yo,
that's what I'm
like
saying. Number 2 pick in the draft, man. You supposed to not just be Defensive Player of the Year. You supposed to be in the running for the Defensive Player of the Year, not just rookie.
You gotta be like Bosa. You gotta be like Bosa.
And like Michael Carson. And where is he from?
I said Bosa. I'm going with the enemy. I'm talking about the enemy. I'm talking about Bosa.
No, but I'm just saying, you saw that with Michael Carson. You saw that too. And that's what I'm saying. Like, who had more hype coming out, Michael Carson or Chase Young?
Chase, easily.
Chase Young was the best thing since sliced bread.
That's my point, man.
He freelances too much.
Yeah, and he looked like LeVar Arrington all over again.
Yep, he does. He freelances.
And he's from there too. He's from there too. I ain't gonna say it this time. We got a rack of them, man. You know how it is.
I am not going best with you. Hey, Lake, it was dope having you on. Before we let you go, my man, let our listeners know how they can catch you on social media, and also, what you got populating out there in West Virginia.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's great out here. You can follow me on social media, on Twitter at Lake Lewis, on Instagram, Facebook, Lake Lewis Jr. Of course, you can go to sportsjourney.com. The site's migrating as we speak, so you can't look at it at this second. Okay. We'll be back up in the morning. Just putting some new things in there. And then, of course, I'm down here in West Virginia for ABC as their lead anchor, news TV anchor, morning anchor. So, it's good, man. I came on with you guys, for the family, but normally I'm in bed now by 7 o'clock.
I get it. and we appreciate it.
Getting heavy.
We appreciate it, Lake. We appreciate it.
As always, yeah, man. But it's good to catch up with you guys again, man. I miss this.
Miss seeing you, my man.
Best of luck in the new endeavor, man. Take it to the max, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Also, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search all Burgundy Gold, everything with the Urban Sports Scene. Also, tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on IG at Urban Sports Scene, like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. And make sure you subscribe to the Fox Sports Radio 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia, and Urban Sports YouTube channels as well. Hey, dope to have my man Lake on the show. Always dope having my man Glen, Mo, Ray Jeezy's out. But always, hoping many blessings.
Down for Ray today, baby. We held it down for Ray.
We sure did. Sure did. Anyway, you've been, and you know what? RIP Scott Hall too, man. It's been a tough couple of days. That was my childhood.
Raise Ramon,
man. I do want to say that, man. I haven't said it on any of my show platforms, but I want to say that, like, RIP Razor Ramon Scott Hall, one of my favorite wrestlers ever. He stood out. He stood out when I was a youngster. He just stood out. Yeah. You know what I mean? That hit me.
That's girl, baby.
Bad guy.
The bad guy. That hit me, man. Because I was a Scarface fan. When I saw that dude, I was like, oh, snap, Scarface in WWF? Oh, shoot. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, he's everything. They did the NWO when he came on WCW Nitro. I was like, Monday Night Nitro, I was like, oh, Razor Ramon's on what? Yeah. They invading? WWF is invading WCW. This is what's happening. So yeah, RIP Scott Hall, man. You'll be missed, man. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You dig? Deuces. Hey, Mega, lead us out, big homie.
Peace.
To the swag.